A pleasant day to all. I am Ashley Elisha B. Daga-ang, BSMA 2 from Econ 122 73106 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. TTHS. This is my assignment number 11 titled Fiscal Policy. So the first question is, what is fiscal policy and how does it work? Fiscal policy refers to the government's choices regarding the overall level of government purchases and taxes. Basically, governments use this policy to promote sustainable growth and reduce poverty. Fiscal policy work in such a way government taxation and spending are the primary tools used to conduct fiscal policy. If the government lower taxes, for example, it can lead to an increase in consumer spending or consumption and business investment. These factors can stimulate the economy. Government spending on public works can also help boost economic growth. While if the government increases taxation to generate more revenue or reduces its spending, both can slow economic growth, possibly leading to a contraction or recession. Hence, like any economic tool, fiscal policy needs to be used carefully and strategically to achieve the desired outcome. Second question is, what is a government budget and what are the possible sources of it? Government budget refers to the income, expenditures, and sources of borrowings of the national government that are used to achieve national objective, strategic, and programs. The main source of income to fund government programs and activities are primarily: first is taxes. This is the biggest piece of the pie for most governments. Taxes are mandatory contribution that citizens and businesses make to the government. These are different types of taxes, such as income tax, sales tax, and property tax. Second one is fees and charges. Governments collect revenue from fees for services they provide, like licenses or permits. Third is borrowing. Sometimes government needs to borrow money to cover their spending. They do this by taking the form of treasury bonds, bills, and notes which are sold to the investor to raise funds for government's operation. Furthermore, the governments may also explore other sources of revenue, such as fees, fines, and other receipts collected from different sectors of the economy. The way a government allocates its resources through the budget has a major impact on the country's economy and the well-being of its citizens. Third question is, what is budget deficit, budget surplus, and balanced budget? Basically, budget deficit, budget surplus, and balanced budget comes from public savings or from the government's budget. So, first is budget deficit. Budget deficit is the shortfall of tax revenue from government spending. It occurs when a government spending exceeds its revenue during a defined period. Therefore, governments need to borrow in order to continue providing long-term benefits to its citizens. The second one is budget surplus. Budget surplus is an excess of tax revenue over government spending. It exists when a government's earning through tax revenues is more than its spending in the current quarter or year. Therefore, the government has resources to spend on infrastructure creation and its welfare plans without having the need to borrow. And lastly is the balanced budget. It is a situation in financial planning or the budgeting process where total expected revenues are equal to the total planned spending. Fourth question. What are the types of fiscal policy and explain thoroughly what happened in each type? There are two main types of fiscal policy, the expansionary and contractionary. Expansionary policy is Expansionary fiscal policy is implemented during economic downturns to stimulate economic activity and boost aggregate demand. This type of policy aims to counterattack a recession by increasing government spending and reducing taxes. The implementation of this fiscal policy is during an economic downturn. The government increases its spending on infrastructure projects, social welfare programs, and other initiatives to create jobs and stimulate economic growth. Additionally, Tax cuts are often implemented to provide individuals and businesses with more disposable income, which can lead to increased consumer spending and business investment. The second one is contraction fiscal policy or contractionary fiscal policy. It is employed during period of unstable economic growth to reduce inflationary pressures and prevent the economy from overheating. This type of policy aims to decrease aggregate demand and slow down economic activity. This fiscal policy is implemented during economic booms or expansion. The government may reduce its spending and or increase taxes to reduce the amount of money in circulation and curb inflation. By decreasing government expenditure and increasing taxes, the government aims to reduce consumer and business spending, thereby stabilizing the economy. Lastly, for the fifth question, so enumerate and explain some criticisms of fiscal policies. Fiscal policy, while a powerful tool, it has also been criticized for its limitation and negative consequences. The one highlighted is its effect in terms of its effectiveness. Some economists argue that fiscal policy is a blunt instrument that can be slow and ineffective. It can take time for changes in government spending or taxes to impact the economy. Additionally, factors outside the government's control, like global events, can influence economic performance. Second is poor information. Fiscal policy can suffer if the government has poor information. For example, if the government believes there is going to be a recession and implements expansionary fiscal policy, but the forecast was wrong and the economy grew too fast, the government action would cause inflation. Third is budget deficit. Expansionary fiscal policy, such as cutting taxes and increasing government spending, can lead to an increase in the budget deficit. This can have adverse effect as a higher budget deficit will require higher taxes in the future and may cause crowding out. Fourth is crowding out private investment. Critics argue that government spending too easily crowds out investment by the private sector. Expansionary policy is also seen as politically difficult to reverse, as voters tend to favor lower taxes and public spending. And the sixth one is the political bias and popularity. Expansionary policy is seen as politically difficult to reverse, as voters tend to favor low taxes and public spending. Due to the political incentive faced by the policymaker, there tends to be a consistent bias. In conclusion, fiscal policy is a complex tool with both advantages and disadvantages. While it can be a powerful lever for managing the economy, it's important to be aware of the potential drawbacks and use it strategically in conjunction with other economic policies. So knowing about this information or an assignment, I hope you learn about this information. That's all, and thank you.